back with Avenged Sevenfold. It's been a while. The last review I did of Avenged Sevenfold was the album The Stage. I think it was The Stage, the most recent one I did, which was many, many months ago. It was very early on my kind of YouTube, I wouldn't really call it career, let's say hobby. And I've gotten kind of caught up in having to find new bands because obviously I have to keep producing, constant video so my channel doesn't kind of look dead or anything and people don't kind of just kind of move on, keep people entertained, more videos and more videos. So I've kind of got caught up in finding new bands, which obviously piques my interest because it's something new, it's something exciting, which kind of takes me away from the bands I already am kind of aware of and know. A person has actually requested yesterday, when are you going to finish Avenged Sevenfold? And I thought, this is kind of my favourite band. I probably should kind of finish off the albums I like by them on my channel. I don't think I'll do the first two albums because I never listen to them at all. I don't like them. There's your review. I don't like them. So this is the last one. I reviewed everything else. Some of them are really early on the channel when I didn't have pictures, music or anything. The Stage I had pictures. Don't think I had music. I had titles of the tracks I was going through, maybe. I can't remember. It was pretty early, all of them. Unfortunately, reviewing this, I don't have the music to go along with it. So I've got alternative kind of pictures that will keep changing just to give you something at least to kind of look at. I'll also try and hurry, which means it'll probably be about 40 minutes, but I will try and hurry. So, getting into Nightmare. So, there is a few different things about this album coming off of the self-titled as well as City of Evil, which I got in on with the album City of Evil. So the changes are the drummer, obviously, for those who don't know, he passed away. It's a little unclear of what actually happened, but from the knowledge I kind of know, is he was out drinking the previous night. He was asking the band members, do you want to kind of keep the party going, blah, 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 blah. Matt Shadows, I think, has spoken about saying something along the lines of, he came to me saying, you want to keep the party going? And Matt said, I shouldn't. We have studio tomorrow, so I'm going to, get a night's sleep. And the Rev went out to do whatever the hell he actually did. Obviously, that was the last Matt saw of him, so he wished he kind of said something to kind of keep him there. But apparently it was the following day, the Rev apparently kind of had prescription kind of medication or something, and it kind of mixed badly with the alcohol, and that apparently kind of killed him. I think the medication he also had was for a serious kind of problem as well, which maybe also played a part, I think. It's a little kind of all over the place. Loads of people saying he overdosed, he wanted to die, it was suicide. Others saying it was just an accident of alcohol and drug missing. Others it's what the drugs was there for was something that was slowly killing him and he was aware of it. And the album, there are some kind of subtle hints that the Rev kind of knew his time was coming to an end. So there's a lot of different things, but that is basically all the options. Unless there's something about, I don't know, something really out there. But that is basically the evidence given from Matt and all the kind of go-to places which are a bit reliable, but it doesn't seem that filled. Obviously, the band probably don't want to go into complete and utter detail of absolutely everything. So that is it. So obviously the drummer left. The drummer was one of the main kind of writers. He wrote the song Almost Easy, Little Piece of Heaven. I think he also did the song Afterlife, all like the biggest epic songs on the self-titled. He probably did things on City of Evil. I'm not sure what song he did, but he probably did do something with that. And he's obviously a fantastic drummer. He did write some of these songs on this album before he passed. So the songs were kind of written. They were in the studio for a week or so and did a few things. But unfortunately, he, of course, kind of passed quite early on in the recording process. So he is still kind of present in this album. The band did kind of change a few things around just to make it a bit more kind of personal and about the Rev passing. So a few things have been changed, but other than that, I think a lot of the Rev is still there. But obviously the band kind of went straight back into the studio. They were off for like just a few days or something, and they kind of just went back in to kind of capture the raw emotion and everything and pay tribute to the Rev with this album. So obviously they have that mindset going into the studio, unlike the previous times where it's just, the kind of clear mindset, the kind of fun, the excitement, the flowing ideas and everything. They are going in with a bit of a hindrance here. Another thing that is different is the tone that is in this album. So I don't really like the sound of this album. Now, again, it is still Avenged Sevenfold. Some of you who don't really have an adapted ear will probably not notice and just say, well, it just sounds like all the other albums, but it actually doesn't. Sinister Gates for City of Evil and self-titled was going through a Mesa amplifier, which is an American amp. It is a very, very aggressive amp. And for this album, he has changed over to a Marshall, which is a British amp that is not really anywhere close to being as aggressive and as hot as the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. So there is kind of that big tonal shift, which I don't like. I don't like the sound of the Marshall. It's, instead of being kind of aggressive and got a lot of kind of bottom bass end to it, a Marshall has a bit more of that kind of 80s British style kind of crunch to it instead, and I just don't think it works. So there is that problem. So going into the first track, Nightmare, the way it starts is kind of typical of Avenged Sevenfold. They have the kind of typical kind of ambient noises. So here you have this kind of I don't know what it is, kind of like this kind of small kind of haunting bell chime, and then there's like the violins going, and it's trying to sound really eerie, really creepy. It definitely sets a mood and a tone, and I like that. And then obviously the band comes in, and then obviously Sinister's immediately there. You get the tone. It's not sounding good. In City of Evil, it's so kind of aggressive, it's loud. There's a lot of kind of bass to it. So here it's just a little thin and a little strained, just a bit tinny to me. So when he's playing this kind of what's supposed to be haunting, it's quite sharp instead of loud and aggressive that the Mesa would accomplish. It's definitely just a lot less aggression because he's going through this Marshall, and Marshall do not do the kind of American style aggressive style amps. They're definitely a lot more in the lower kind of gain style amps with more kind of crunch and bite to them. So there's that. The bass is quite heavy as well, so there is kind of bass. So people saying, well, there's no you're complaining there's no kind of bass in the sound of the guitar. Well, a bass still sounds different to the bass being in a guitar, and I don't know, it's so straightforward kind of guitar, and then it's just this kind of fat bass and everything. I just don't like the mix of it. I don't really like the entire intro at all until it kind of gets to the kind of verse of Sinister just doing them amazing epic whammy pulls and things, where the whammy just screams for as long as Sinister really wants to maintain it. So I really like that. And then the actual riff itself is a bit standard. It definitely has a really nice kind of beat to it and everything. I do like it. The only problem is, again, just this tone. Even with Matt's voice, now Matt has a very strong voice, and to kind of have the backing music be very kind of thin instead of kind of booming with kind of bottom end, which Matt kind of has as well. It's two rather weird contrasts, because Matt has the kind of aggressive, loud, has a fair bit of bass in his voice, and then you've got the rest of the band, well, with the guitars, not having that at all, and just kind of the second they kind of strum something, it kind of just rings out in the highest kind of pitch and everything, and then it immediately dies. It doesn't kind of linger. There's no kind of bass roundness to it. There's no kind of echo to it, which the Messer would kind of accomplish, as the Marshall doesn't. It's just a quite clean kind of cut tone. So again, they're still not mixing. There's some faster sung aggressive vocals, and then Sin does some kind of faster 6-string top of the neck fast playing, which obviously, because it's right at the top and it's a lot of the top string, definitely thickens the sound up a bit, which gives it a better tone that is suited for Matt's style. And then later into the verse and everything, Sinister starts doing this kind of eerie kind of lead and everything over the rhythm of Zaki. This sounds good, of course, because obviously it's just adding layers. It gives a bit more kind of musicality to it. And it just kind of opens the song up a lot more. There's a lot more kind of branches being put out there. And Sin's lead obviously does really well. Again, the tone's a bit too thin. And the chorus as well, there's some kind of... It's just not really connecting with me. It's basically after the chorus, Sin does another one of them kind of whammy kind of pulls again, which sounds great. And that is basically the best part of the song, is whenever Sinister kind of goes off on the whammy. Other than that, the tone just doesn't really work. But it's basically tone. As far as Matt's voice goes, he sounds fine. I do like his faster, more aggressive delivery, the kind of more musical nature of the chorus. I like the sound of the riff and what is being played. I just don't like the tone of it. And that is kind of it, because I just don't think it's delivering as much punch and aggressive impact that Avenged Sevenfold kind of it's supposed to come with. I just don't get it. Avenged Sevenfold need that kind of heavy bass sounding aggressive loud punch to it. And this album is quite quiet in the mix, which is also a hindrance. And then the tone of the guitar using the Marshall amp, it's just not working for him. The solo is, again, a little irritating, because I don't really know what the solo's really going for. It's not really technical, and it's not really melody based, and it's not really musical. I don't know what it is. It just seems... Now, Sinister Gates is a great guitarist, don't get me wrong. I love Sinister Gates. I think he's incredible. I think he is extremely well versatile. I think he can pretty much do anything if it is offered to him. But I think the mindset of him basically having his best friend died, and he's working on an album which he's died on, and he's in the studio without really fully getting over it, because it took them years to get over the passing of the Rev. I don't think he can go in there with the nature of what Sin used to do in the self-titled and City of Evil, of doing really fun, high energy, energetic kind of solos with a lot of power, fun, melodies, catchiness. If he does a melody, there's a lot of heart to it. I don't think he's in the right mindset to do something really fun and bombastic and to really enjoy it. So it just seems a little kind of dead and hollow to me, this solo. And then the tone itself, along with this kind of weird kind of empty sounding rhythm that is underneath the solo, I don't get anything. Now, people do kind of say this is one of the best solos by Sinister. I don't get it at all. There is nothing special really about it, in my opinion. Welcome to the Family, the following track. This is a bit more of a simple song, a bit kind of straightforward. Just one of you kind of more easier to get into, a bit more kind of energy. So because it's more energy, it's the kind of mid-tempo, but there is a bit of a quickness about it. The riff itself is played in a more kind of aggressive style and everything, so that kind of covers up a bit more of kind of the bass end and give a bit more of an impact and aggression to it. The Marshall obviously still kind of holds it back and everything, but it does give a bit more of an impact, so it's a better sounding riff being produced musically. And yeah, it's just one of these more simple kind of aggressive kind of flowing beat. There's some musical elements in the chorus to break it up. And then the chorus as well, Sin kind of does a lead all throughout, but it sounds excruciatingly thin sounding, which is quite irritating, because doing a lead through a chorus, which is why I really like Sinister, because he usually has a lead and interesting plays throughout the song, including a solo. So I always have an amazing guitar work on display, no matter where I am in the song. It's just annoying that he's playing in one of the kind of higher sounding areas of the guitar with an amp that doesn't have as much kind of bass and aggressive as the Mesa. And yeah, it's just a little thin and tinny for me, especially for Avenged Sevenfold, which is trying to, do the aggressive style, which is what they are known for. The solo, again, just seems lacking in imagination, or kind of... It doesn't seem that he's really kind of gone in thinking. It's fast, and then it goes into a kind of short melody break, then to fast, then a short melody break, to fast, to a short melody break. The melody break is always exactly the same. The shred is usually different, but it's basically about a 3-second shred. It's not musical, it's just shred for shred. And then at the end it goes into a really kind of short melody that lasts, again, around 4 seconds or something. And you want it extended because it's something that actually seems to have kind of feel and emotion put behind it, but then he just shreds out of it. And that is your solo, which is really disappointing, seeing that it's a lot of repeated patterns. The kind of interlude breaks between the shred is repeated. The shred itself, even though the positioning and what he's playing changes, it is still just mindless shredding. And then the melody is such a short, bleak thing, and then finishing up on shred. It doesn't seem well thought out. Sinister always goes into solos that are really, really long, intricate, well layered, diverse, and that is why I love Sin. They're massive, they're diverse. I get so many different styles and techniques from him. And here I've got nothing. It's really pretty poor from Sinister. Again, I'm not blaming him. Going through what he went through, I can't basically say, well, do better, get over it. I'm not going to do that, because that is extremely rude. But the fact of the matter is, this is what there is. I'm supposed to review it and be critical, and that is the way it is. So the next track, Danger Line. I liked this song. At first, when I kind of heard it, I kind of thought the kind of riff was very basic and bleak. There wasn't much to it. But then kind of going over the lyrics and knowing what the lyrical content is and everything, and then kind of connecting to the song, I did come to really appreciate this track, Danger Line. So Danger Line is basically about a guy out at war. He's on the kind of danger line, so he's under a lot of heavy fire. He's talking about doing it for his family, he wants to support them, he's kind of scared, this is his job. He dies on the danger line, and near the end it's basically just saying he's free and his spirit kind of goes up into the heavens. And I just think the kind of basic kind of riff and everything kind of suits the lyrical theme. It's kind of gritty. It's not something, big and epic and brooding or musical and upbeat, because lyrically it won't work. So it's just something straightforward and just gritty. And just the way Matt obviously kind of sings this as well, it's just a dark kind of tone for the kind of verse that he's singing. It's just straightforward, no kind of beauty. It's just straightforward. And he has some beauty to his voice as well. And then near the end there's some kind of like piano, there's some kind of, and then it builds into drums. His voice gets very kind of melodic. And when this happens, I kind of say it's probably when he gets shot. So when the piano comes in, it's like, that is it, he's shot. And then when he says I'm free, and then Sinister comes in, I say that's his soul leaving his body and ascending to the heavens, and Sinister is playing that ascension up into the heavens. So it's a basic solo. He's not going to be going overly poppy, musical, upbeat or anything. It's going to be something that has to be quite simple, something really, really beautiful. And that is what is given. So Sinister kind of actually matches the theme of the song. I think it's a beautiful sounding solo. And at the end, the kind of whistle, which I think represents a kind of peace for his soul. I think it's a kind of well executed song that really tells a story through the kind of the lyrics, the voice, as well as musically. So I think it's a well executed song, even though the riff just by itself is not really much of anything, but it works. Buried Alive starts kind of finger picked by Sinister Gates. I know this because I've seen him play it live. And it's on the clean channel. This is not much to it. It's just something really kind of slow. It's just this kind of nice finger picked kind of melody of Sinister until the band kind of comes in. And it's pretty slow and everything. And then it gets into the verse and it's still quite kind of slow. There's not much really to it. It sounds nice and everything, but obviously there's not really a lot there. Everything's fine. I just think it could be a bit kind of better and a bit more kind of uplifted. Going into the chorus, it gets heavier and everything. But again, I still think it needs more. There's some elements of the chorus where it gets a little bit kind of faster and aggressive. I think that works really well for them. But other than that, it's just a bit kind of empty, a bit simple. It's only when they get into the second chorus and they extend it and then it goes into the solo where things start getting a lot better for this song. It's where I think the song really works, and why a lot of people like it is this basic second part, because it sounds great. But yeah, the solo, I like the lead up to it. So Sinister and Zaki kind of build up into the solo. So it's this nice kind of bouncy kind of rhythm going on, and then Sinister does this beautiful it's not really shred, but it's this really fast light guitar picking over the melody, and it sounds really, really nice. And when it gets into the solo, again, I don't think it's much of anything. It's kind of a lot of slides and then just a lot of kind of just mindless kind of fast picking and everything, and then he comes out of it. It's just like, again, I just don't think there's a lot of kind of emotion and good structure to his solo with it. Everything that he plays is, great. It's great talent and musicianship. I just don't think it's that great. And then after that, you get a bit of a break, and then the guitars that come in sounding really aggressive for once, and the singing and then the shouting from Matt at parts, and then just the aggression of the band behind him, I just think sounds really good. I can just tap my leg to this. I can, bob my head, because the beat is just so intense and it's so impactful and just really works. The second kind of short lead interlude from Sin, I think, is a bit better because it plays into what is being played. So it plays into the solo really well, and even though it's fast, he has this kind of melody and feel to what he's actually doing and putting out. And then as it ends as well, it ends perfectly into what comes after. So even though it's just not got much melody, it's more of show of speed. He does know how to utilize that speed to make it have a melody to it, which makes it then work. Because then I can connect to it. It sounds more musical instead of something that's just a little kind of emotionally dead to me. And then after that interlude, it gets even more aggressive, and the drums have their time to dun 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 breaks, and then the guitars come in, and then they go, and then the drum comes in, and it's just amazing, the last part, mostly just because the aggressive side of it just works incredibly well. Natural Born Killer was my favourite track when I actually first kind of got into this album. That's not the case anymore. Again, it's a bit more on the kind of simple side. It's just one of these kind of upbeat, more kind of catchy, simple songs. And yeah, there's some speed to it. So the first good part about this track is basically in the intro where Sin gets plays really really fast and intense, and Matt kind of screams over the top of it. Obviously giving a lot of kind of power and intensity to the song. And then the next great part that I really like in the song is within the verse itself, where Matt has some real epic moments where he kind of projects his vocals, and the way he just sings it out and everything, and then the band open it up, and then the drum cymbals are just tapping like crazy along with him. I just think it's great. The pre-chorus goes to a melodic, clean pre-chorus, just kind of changing the pacing of it. The chorus itself is a little bland. The solo, again, it starts a little kind of hollow. There's not really much to the start of it. It does go into a melody, which comes across interesting, and then it goes back into the kind of fast, kind of upbeat style thing, which doesn't really have much to offer. And then the last part of the solo goes melodic. It kind of sounds like the second half of the Almost Easy solo, to be honest. It does sound a lot the same, which could be a problem because he does seem to be kind of copying that entire sound of that solo. But it sounds nice. It is musical. It's got good melody to it. Definitely has feel and everything. And then he shreds it near the end, which is obviously one of the really better Sinister solos, something with a lot of feel and something great with its elements of shred. The first part of the solo is a little kind of messy and seems to be kind of lacking kind of the thought and structure that Sinister can usually bring. But the second part, he definitely kind of saves it. Next track, So Far Away. So for those who don't know, this is actually the first song written by Sinister Gates. Apparently the story is Sinister left the studio, he went and locked himself away, goodness knows where. The band didn't really know where he was. And a week or something whatever later, he came back and he presented the song to Matt or somebody and said, I want this to be on the album. So what he did was he basically went away with his emotions and his feelings for the Rev, and then he used the pain and everything to actually write a song for his friend, which is So Far Away. Now, this song, for the most part, is quite simple. It is a melodic track. It is mostly clean-based, but it doesn't need to be anything more than that, really. It's a band playing a song that they wrote personally for their friend. They're not going to be having a whale of a time. They're not going to be doing anything like that. They're just going to sit down and just play and just put their emotion into it. You can definitely hear the emotion in certain parts of this song, especially near the end. There's some good elements before that, which I'll touch on. The first subtle lead from Sinister's guitar sounds really kind of cool because it's mostly just kind of clean, acoustic-y style thing. I don't think it's acoustic, but it's kind of close to that kind of sound. But the lead somewhere in the middle of the song that comes in just sounds really good because he, I think, picks, so then it's ringing but the volume's turned off, so then he'll slowly turn the volume knob up, so then you get this ring, and then he'll turn it down, and then he'll pick. It's ringing but no one hears, and then he turns it up, so you just get this sounds, this and it just sounds really kind of cool, just that kind of tone and the way he does that, just quite eerily kind of coming up into his first solo. There's two. The first solo sounds a little straightforward, to be honest. You can definitely tell there's emotion and everything, but the best solo is definitely the second one, where everything goes quite quiet and everything, and it's this build of drums and this kind of acoustic guitar, and then when it explodes, Sinister just kind of erupts into this unbelievable melodic kind of solo. And I always just get the feeling that Sinister is just putting all his emotion into this solo, and it's just screaming out of the guitar what he's playing. some of it is just a kind of repeated kind of phrase and everything, and some other parts he puts in a new element to the mix. But it's just something that sounds great and it just screams emotion, and that is all that's needed. And then Matt comes in and sings over the top, and usually I dislike this style, but the fact that Matt sounds so broken and damaged in his delivery, and then Sinister sounds like he's just screaming blue bloody murder through his guitar emotionally. I think the two just mixed together just to give this incredibly intense emotional feeling and delivery. And you can definitely feel the pain. Like when I first heard the song and I got to that part where Sinister erupted and then Matt came in, I couldn't help but cry. Obviously, I really like the band. They're my favourite band. I watch all behind the scenes, so I feel like I kind of know the Rev to some degree. But it really works, and when you can really feel it and actually cry with the band, I think that is a real powerful connection and something really powerful musically when music can do that to you. So a lot of people will say, you are gay. I don't care. I like the fact that it connects with me on that way. Music should. So I don't care. That's what music should do. The next track, God Hates Us, takes it in a completely new direction. This is just balls to the wall aggressive. It actually starts off with a fake build-up. It starts off melodic. It goes for a while. You think it's going to be a melodic song, but then all of a sudden it just explodes into where this long kind of high-pitched hull from Sinister while the melody of Zacky's going underneath him. Definitely a lot of kick to it, a lot of aggression, and then when Sinister comes out of that hold and goes in with Zacky, just beefing that kind of riff up and everything, and the drums going ballistic. Really intense. And then Matt comes in with his screams. I don't really like screams. I don't like even Avenged Sevenfold screams, so just like, oh, they're my favourite band, so I can get over it. Nope, don't like screams. If Avenged Sevenfold screams, I don't like it. Not going to change it for me. They have to be good, and if they're not good. I won't just like them no matter what. But here, with the meaning of this song and everything, I do kind of think it works. And the screaming's not too much, so I do think it works and it's alright. I do prefer singing though. But when he actually does his singing, the thing I've noticed from seeing them live, the riff underneath the sung part of the verse is so difficult that Zacky does not play it because it is just so tricky. Like, seeing his hand, it is just moving so quickly, his hand spread like crazy to the part where I think he's dislocating fingers and then still going really fast. It's just insane. So, yeah, Zacky doesn't play that because it's so difficult. And then the kind of chorus comes in. It's a bit repetitive because it's just basically God hates us all, and God hates us all, total nightmare. So it's quite repeated and everything, but the point is it's supposed to just be aggressively just like God hates us, and it's like screaming it. So it's just like, it does kind of work repeating something when it carries that kind of meaning behind it. Then it works to repeat a chorus and a line when it's just basically, because when you're super angry, you can just repeat something over and over and over again in your head because it's irritating you so much, and that's what I get from the chorus, and that is what it is. And the meaning of the song is basically, in life, good people die young, and that's it. People get raped. Nobody does anything. God doesn't do anything. There's killing. God doesn't do anything. He's supposed to be there for us. He's supposed to be all-seeing. Therefore, all the people getting raped and death and murder and everything, God does nothing. So obviously this is kind of a thing of basically the Revs obviously died and gone to heaven, I guess. So they're probably a little kind of irritated and just kind of used this kind of thing as God takes the good. Obviously I don't think they're that spiteful and silly. I just think it was basically just something interesting that they obviously thought up in the moment, and obviously I kind of find it a little fascinating. Like, yeah, God just kind of watches and does all these kind of things. So it's a weird kind of thing. But I do know that they do believe that Rev's in heaven, and they are happy that he's, in a good place and everything. So they're not, Satanist or something. It's just an aggressive song for the sake of just being aggressive, and just to get this kind of weird kind of point of just something to think about. The solo itself, again, it's not brilliant. It starts with a lot of like aggression and power, but it's just dun 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 dun. The way he does it and the way it sounds and comes across obviously sounds cool, but just dun 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 dun. There's not much really there. So a lot of it, again, it's just like kind of cool, interesting sounds, but nothing too, melodic, musical, or that real kind of intricate or anything. It's just kind of cool kind of sounds, and some kind of slides and bends that he does in certain areas to give it a bit more of a musical statement. But other than that, again, it's a pretty poor solo. So the only real good ones we've had is Danger Line for solo. Buried Alive is got sort of a good one. Natural Born Killer, kinda. So Far Away, definitely. So obviously a bit of a struggle here. The next track, Victim. Now, Victim is a song that people don't really talk about who like Avenged Sevenfold. It's never really mentioned. What's mentioned is So Far Away, Fiction, Save Me, and Nightmare, which I think is ridiculous. I think Victim is an incredible song. I love this track. It is just so beautiful, just the music of it. The first vocalist who comes in, I read somewhere that they said it was Johnny, but I think that was a joke, because the voice is quite pretty. I don't think Johnny can really do that. All the band can sing, if you didn't know. All of them are singers and are capable of doing it. But I just don't think Johnny has that high pitch of a voice. Well, it could be wrong. It could be Johnny for all I know, but it's an incredible voice. And just when Matt starts singing, it's the best singing on the album. His voice is just so beautiful. It's got such great warmth to it, such an ease and relaxation about it. It's not just dark, it's not gritty, it's not stale, it's not anything like that and aggressive. It's just relaxed, melodic, chilled out, peaceful sounding voice, and it sounds brilliant. And even the music as well supports that. The music is bright and warm and relaxed, and it's just something you just can sit back and just enjoy just the beauty of the song, which really sounds incredible. And the chorus takes it out a bit. I do prefer kind of the verses and everything. The chorus have their elements. The band kind of have a high end kind of in the background over, under Matt, not over, which gives a bit of more of a life to it. I think that works a little, but other than that, I think the chorus could have been a little bit more in certain areas. But like the rest of the song, it is really good. The first solo is good. It's got some musicality to it and some nice upbeat beautiful kind of melody to it, but it's rather short. It's when the second solo kicks in. The second solo just sounds incredible. It is just so beautiful and catchy, and it has great melody to it. It's not slow. It's this sort of upbeat but not fun. It's just this really nice, gentle, mid-tempo solo that's just warm, and it's just really beautiful. And it really does sound incredible. Then at the end of the song, when it kind of gets all kind of clean, melodic, and Matt's just constantly repeating, "I'm missing you, I'm missing you." Obviously that's quite sad, because obviously he's kind of probably talking about the Rev again. And it just goes from this really beautiful song with beautiful solos, and then it ends on a dark, somber kind of note and everything. I think that's quite nice and special. And then the angelic kind of singing again, just a, I can't do it, but that at the end I think starts representing something a bit more of maybe kind of angels or something. Obviously, this could be bloody anything. I have no idea. It's just how it feels to me, and when the music can paint a picture and connect to me emotionally, and I can run with all the emotions of the songs. It doesn't matter how I interpret it. If it does that for me, and if it does that to you, that's the best thing about music, when you can have a picture and connect to something really musically and just be able to connect with the song and understand and feel it. The next track, Tonight the World Dies. I don't really like this track. I never really got into it. It's just this real slow, unbelievably slow pace to the thing. It's such a slow beat. And the tone of the guitars when Sinister comes in with a lead, just this kind of like country guitar kind of leads at certain points of the song. But other than that, it's just incredibly slow, just with this kind of like banjo electric guitar sounding kind of lead that's inputs over the top. It's this weird sound. And other than that, there's not even that much of a solo. There's a short kind of lead area, but nothing memorable about it. So there's not really much to the thing. It's just slow and boring, and nothing that musical about it. I like Sin's lead things with the kind of tone he's going for, because it is quite unique, but he never really goes anywhere with it. He just says, here's something, and it's about it. He doesn't really do much to show it off. The next track, Fiction, which loads of people like. I hate this song. It's terrible. Now, people like the song because it's the Rev. The Rev is singing in this song, and it was a week before he died or something that he sung this. And the track is basically singing about passing on, moving on, and saying goodbye to his loved ones. And because he sings it with Matt, it's basically Matt singing to the Rev how he misses him, how he cares for him, and then the Rev singing back, I'll be alright, look after yourselves, I care about you, and all this thing. So it is this real eerie thing of basically Matt and the Rev basically saying goodbye to each other, which is quite creepy, and obviously it is a week before he dies, so a lot of fans can really connect to this song because it's the last thing made by the Rev. So it's our last goodbye to him, kind of. So the song's quite empty, so even though people do connect to it, I understand it's the last thing the Rev did, but I don't even think he sounds good on the song. Which loads of people kill me for, like, oh, he's great, he's brilliant, we love him, you don't care. And it's just like, I do care, I like the Rev. He produced great songs. And I think the band really struggled for a few years without him. I think they struggled with this album, I think they struggled with the next album, Hail to the King. They did something simple just to make it a bit easier for themselves. I just don't think they had the capacity to just do what they were really good for. I think it took until the stage for them to really get back to what Avenged Sevenfold really is, and that's my favourite album, The Stage, by them. But yeah, the song, it's just kind of like piano. It sounds kind of like a haunted carnival thing. It sounds weird. It's not something beautiful and melodic of two people passing. It's just this kind of creepy circus sound that's the thing I picture. And then Matt and the Rev singing. Rev just kind of sounds like he's messing around a little. When he's obviously doing a duet with Matt, Matt obviously sounds better. He's the actual singer and he puts a lot of effort in. And the Rev doesn't sound as bad here. But it does sound a bit messing. Like critical acclaim, his voice is usually best suited for the kind of sharp, aggressive kind of thing. Doing something kind of melodic and emotional, his voice does not do that. It's not him. He's not a deep, emotional person. He's a character of insanity. That is him. So I just don't think his personality does this, and his personality, I think, comes into the voice, which is something serious and deep, but sung in a cartoony fashion. It's really weird, and I don't like it because it's just a mess to my ear, trying to just distinguish his emotion and then the lyrics and the emotion of the song, which sounds like a carnival, and the lyrics don't go with that, and then Matt's singing style is deep and sad, trying to say goodbye to a friend, and then he's saying goodbye too, but seems to be joking. Vocally, it messes with my head, just trying to distinguish all these different things. It's a mess. Musically, the singing, nothing is like one emotion. It's multiple emotions that don't go together. Of, I've died, we're going to say goodbye, but I'm going to joke about it and we're at the circus. It's a real bad picture that I get. It does not work. And it's basically just piano the whole time. There is no solo, there's no guitars, there's no band. I don't think there's a drum. And then it's just Matt. Now, when Matt does his, lead vocal by himself, he sounds amazing. Just the amount of care he puts in, because obviously the song is supposed to be a big deal, and he definitely seems to put in a lot of effort. His voice is brilliant. And then the Rev does his lead, and it just sounds like he's just taking the piss. Just like, here on the highway. He sounds like a squealed pig. It's ridiculous. I remember when I actually put this on in the car for my dad, who is kind of a fan of Avenged Sevenfold, not as big as me, and then it came to the Rev, and he burst out laughing. Now, this is his part of saying goodbye to Matt. You shouldn't be bursting out into laughter and tears. That is not right. And yeah, I feel for them. It's a deep song. They're both saying goodbye to each other. I get the emotion that's supposed to be there, but the way it's sung is separate to what is supposed to be being done. It just sounds squealed like a pig and like he does not care. And I'm not saying he doesn't care. Like, I'm not being rude to the Rev. I just think his personality, his voice, again, is for something a lot more intense and crazy. That is his personality. It's his persona. It's what he does. His voice isn't for something beautiful and depressing. That is not him. So it just does not work. I don't like the track. It is really boring, and for half of it, badly sung. Save Me is near enough 11 minutes. People adore this song. I think it's good, but again, it's a long intro. There's some interesting aspects of what Sinister Gates does when he does kind of like his kind of leads and his interlude style things over the song and through certain aspects. But for the most part, it doesn't kind of have a character to it. City of Evil had a sound, a persona, this character, this being, an essence. The self-titled had a feel and a character to it. Hail to the King had a feel about it. The stage had a feel and a presence about it. Now, Save Me does not have that. It is just a typical sounding metal song being played by Avenged Sevenfold. There is no style to it. The stage sounds sci-fi. The self-titled sounds kind of poppy and upbeat. City of Evil, at certain parts, sounds like a western. Hail to the King sounds like this 80s medieval style metal thing at times. And this sounds like nothing. It's just kind of basic plain. And it's the thing I like about Avenged Sevenfold, is putting character and a uniqueness, sound and character into their performance. And here I just don't get it. What they do is all fine and everything, but I want a unique tone and a unique sound. When it's just basically, well, the play is good, the vocals are good, but then other than that there's not much, then it's basically just sitting back and just getting a demo of what someone can do without actually having the full out, thought through performance. It's just like a demo of what they're capable of, which is the way I kind of see Save Me as a whole. It's a good show and a good performance, but lacks that kind of character, the kind of essence of each of the members put into the performance. It just seems like the talent just being put out for the sake of showing talent. The solo is incredible though. The solo lasts a long time. It goes through multiple stages. So you've got your kind of shreddy elements, you've got your more melodic parts, and your different techniques. It's an incredible solo. There's a short break where the kind of piano plays, and then Matt is singing melodically, and they're quite beautiful. His voice sounds great. Tonight we all die young, and then the guitars come in and they just build it, and it's just tonight we all die young, and then the whole playing of piano and the band and kind of Lead from Sin, and the amazing vocal performance that Matt does with this Tonight We All Die Young to end the song sounds incredible. And then again, all the parts of the song sound incredible. I just think it's a little kind of stale and doesn't have a personality about it. And the solo is fantastic. Fun fact, the Tonight We All Die Young was actually supposed to be the chorus of the song, because the Rev actually did, I think, some of the song. I don't know if he did all of it. But the Rev apparently said to the guys, wouldn't it be great if the chorus was just Tonight We All Die Young, Tonight We All Die Young, Tonight We All Die Young. But Matt Sin, or one of the members, kind of said, I think we needed a little bit more than Tonight We All Die Young for a chorus. Having a bit more to it. So, yeah, apparently the Rev did have this, but making it was apparently an incredible, difficult hardship for the band. Apparently this song was a bitch to put together, because they had to come up with the chorus. They had to obviously incorporate Tonight We All Die Young, but how to do it, which they put at the end, and I think it was perfect. It was amazing how they ended it. It sounds incredible. I love it. The solo, great. Obviously, it's just something Sinister just had to come up with. That wasn't probably the hardest part. And they had two different songs as well, which I think they glued together. So there's some multiple songs in here, and then they kind of just stick everything together, apparently, to make Save Me. So a fair few messy aspects to the song, but obviously they pulled it off. So incredible that they did that, having to move the kind of chorus around and then put another one in, putting two songs together and make them kind of blend together well and everything. And obviously if it's two different kind of songs, obviously it gives a lot of variety, because they're not supposed to flow together, so it's two different kind of entities and then stitch them together, which is great. But other than that, Save Me is 11 minutes of something that just sounds like the band kind of playing for the most part without having any kind of emotion or fun about it. There's no fun, upbeat energy about it. It's nothing emotional or melodic about it either. It's just basically great playing, great musicianship, great vocals. But other than that, there's no kind of fun or energy or upbeat, or I just don't know what they're kind of going for. Like, even in the stage when they're not doing something fun or upbeat and doing something sci-fi, then it's basically intrigue is the kind of idea they're going for, and kind of like something AI sounding and something space sounding, artificial intelligence, digital kind of sounds, and all of that obviously just makes the song have a kind of life about it. As I say with Save Me, I just don't really get. And that is the album. Besides, obviously, the songs that they released later, like 4am and Not Ready to Die. I don't know if that was for Hail to the King or this one. I think it was this one. Yeah, there was a few B-sides out of the album, but this is basically it for the actual album, Nightmare. So, obviously, it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. It's Avenged Sevenfold. It's still great musicianship, and there's some real great stuff in there. But a lot of it is... Well, not a lot. Some of it is pretty bad. As I said, Fiction, I don't like. Tonight the World Dies, I don't like it. I don't really like that. Nightmare, there is a lot of great stuff to it, but the kind of the tone of Sinister Gates and everything, and the solo, a bit bad. A lot of the solos in this album are really bad for what Sinister's capable of. So it's not great. I would probably say it's my least favourite album. Of the ones I like, City of Evil, The Stage, the two tops, the self-titled after that, and then Hail to the King, and then this behind. Now, Hail to the King was obviously a copy of a lot of older acts and something quite simple, but still what they produced was great. Even if it was some copies of Metallica, Maiden, it still all sounded great. It was all still tight. The solos were still brilliant. So it's still better than this because I like everything on that album. There's tracks I just do not like, and solos that just don't work. And again, I don't blame the band. I don't think they lost it. They should have tried harder. They were going through a real hardship, an unbelievable ordeal that I probably will never be able to even imagine what it would be like to do an album under such circumstances. They wanted raw emotion, and at times they delivered. But in other kind of songs where they have something a bit more heavy and energetic, I just think they just don't have that kind of presence and fun about them, which the songs kind of needed. They just kind of seem a bit kind of emotionally hollow. I can tell the band tries. The emotion does kind of come across in moments, but it just seems like they are a bit kind of strained, and the band do kind of seem like they're just tired to a degree. So reviewing this out of 10, I would probably give it an 8, which is still high even compared to everything I've said, but even though I've done a lot of complaining on this album and there's two tracks I don't like, the fact is it's Avenged Sevenfold. Now people saying, oh well, it's Avenged Sevenfold, that's why it's so high, so you're just being biased. No, it's Avenged Sevenfold, which gives me a lot of reasons to why it's great. The vocals are great, a lot of riffs are great, a lot of the solos, well, half of them, some of them are really, really good. There's some great melodic stuff, there's some great sounding things. And even if something doesn't have that kind of emotional good tone to it, the playing is always really, really good because it's Avenged Sevenfold and they know how to play. So I can't really just take points away just saying, well, the singer sucks, they're not playing, they're not doing what they're supposed to. They do. I can't, give them aggression because of what they went through and just say, well, the Rev died, therefore 5 out of 10 because of that. You should not care. I can't do that. So taking on board the understanding of what they went through, and then all the great musicianship that was still on board, and then obviously retracting points because of the tone. I don't really like it. 2 tracks I don't like. Some of the solos not really clicking for me. They're still solos. They're still really good compared to other kind of guitarists, and then you got the really great ones that Sinister's known for. You got good emotion in a lot of the tracks, and then others you kind of don't. So it is all over, but Avenged Sevenfold seriously know how to play and everything, which really does kind of make it up to that 8. If you want me to kind of be strict, then I'd probably say a 7.8. If you want to be kind of strict and bring it down for really the problems. But I do think it is still a very good album, which is the 8. So I said it wouldn't be long, but it is Avenged Sevenfold. They're my favourite band. I've got so much to say about them, so unfortunately it is long, but that is it, and I'll leave it there to not waste any more time. So I hope you enjoyed this ordeal of a review to get through, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Until then, bye.